and Thomas Volshow, sociology professor at the CUNY College of Staten Island, who happens to be writing a book about Jeffrey Epstein. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to go to you first, and welcome to the show for your first time being on the show. Let's talk a little bit about, because I want to start where it kind of ended, that opening, which is the money. Everyone knows that Jeffrey Epstein is rich. He has lots of homes all over the world, in the Virgin Islands, in Paris. How did he get all that money?
Well, that's always been the mystery, because you have to remember Epstein starts out as from Brooklyn, working class Brooklyn. His father's a groundskeeper for the city parks department, and then he makes his way through Dalton under kind of suspicious circumstances without a degree. From there, he goes to Bear Stearns, and he makes a limited partner in about 4 years, which is a little bit odd. And there he's got some kind of white-collar crime issues with an insider trading deal that he was part of. And then from there, he blew through a bunch of money in the early 80s, and he was borrowing tickets for the Concorde from people to appear very wealthy to his clients, and he starts his own company. One's called Intercontinental Asset Group, and a lot of people don't know that one. And then the next one was J. Epstein and Company, and he accepts money from there's a pinball machine CEO, and he takes about $500,000 from him, and then the guy asks for it back a couple years later, and Epstein gives him a $10,000 check and says, that was for a horse that I sold him, later to a judge when he sued over it. And so from there, Epstein gets involved in a Ponzi scheme called Towers Financial Corporation. And Towers Financial Corporation, what he did there was very brilliant. Epstein's very intelligent. They took over an insurance company in Illinois, and then they stole the bonds from the company, and they put them into brokerage accounts to manipulate the price of Pan Am, the airline stock. And then the Lockerbie, Scotland thing happened, the bombing, and the price of the stock collapsed. Right. So that deal went through, and then so Epstein was sort of bouncing around trying to get money from people. He was recovering money for wealthy people who'd had like lawyers steal money from them. Right. And then he meets Wexner. Who's the founder of Victoria's Secret? The founder of Victoria's Secret, and he plays a management role a little bit at the Limited in Victoria's Secret. And some people have surmised that maybe he's responsible for influencing the company to make provocative clothing for young children. So there's a store called Pink.
Let me just go back to this for a second here, because the thing about it is, and you've reported on Donald Trump and he made a lot of money, but also inherited, right? So the myth of how he made his money, he builds this myth, but it isn't true. With Epstein, the thing that I've been reading a ton about is that no one who was actually in the financial services game knew who he was. Normally, you'd be familiar with the people who were also trading and making a lot of money doing it. Nobody was familiar with him. He seems to be this unknown entity who somehow, with one client that people know about, got really rich. Does that seem suspicious?
Of course, it's suspicious, and I suspect at the end of the day, the way that Jeffrey Epstein stayed in business year after year was providing a variety of financial services to clients. Some of that could have been to mask or park trades. Some of it possibly could have been sort of classic money laundering. Some of it could have been involved with perhaps bribes related to the other things he was doing.
The other things, meaning the sexual things he was doing?
Yeah, and I think, some of this is so speculative still, but there's a possibility that he blackmailed other men who visited his homes and had sexual relationships with either girls or women by consent, but he had cameras in all of his houses. Yeah. There's a real possibility as the story unwinds that one of the reasons he was protected over the years was because he had blackmail. And were there payments associated with that? The federal filing that came in yesterday said he was making about $10 million a year, and he had assets worth about $500 million.
Yeah. Right. And so that's, I guess you're writing a book about this, so I guess that would be the question, right? I mean, I read one piece that speculated, and again, no one really knows the answer to this yet, but that if, in fact, you were somebody who knew other people were into the same lurid stuff you were into, then you could encourage them. I'll use encourage as a nice way to say you should leave your money with me. And then even if all you did was take the money and stick it in a bond fund and you didn't really invest it, and you're not an investing genius, you stick it in a bond fund, they make money, you make money, but they got to do business with you because you know stuff about it. I mean, I just read that is that something that people are thinking or that you're researching could be the possibility?
Yes. I found that Epstein never possessed a trader's license, so it's called a Series 7 license. So I FOIA'd the SEC, and I also checked with FINRA, and they have no record of him ever being a trader. So if he was, and he often has said, I don't make the trades, I order people